All right, Will, welcome to BYU Sports Nation. Thanks for joining the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Your passport's incredible. First off, where's your favorite place that you've visited that's kind of been the most unique in terms of culture and food and language in your exploits so far all over the globe?
Wow, it's hard to pick one. I've been really fortunate. Most of the jobs that I've had have taken me to some pretty special places. I loved Cairo. I coached in the ball, which is the NBA Africa League, and I coached a club called Zamalek, which is one of the largest fan bases in the entire Middle East. And not only just the energy of the supporters, but the city itself was pretty special. So I'd probably put that one near the top.
If you can coach against opposing fan bases who might have flares or are throwing nickels, you can coach in the Big 12, right?
Yeah, it's safe to say that I've probably seen it all, and I'd be shocked if there's something a Big 12 school could do that would intimidate me.
Yeah. Iowa State's going to be tame compared to this Kansas and so on. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the relationship and connection with Kevin Young? Why was this a draw to be here with Kevin at BYU?
Yeah, well, Kevin and I used to coach against each other. So, before the G League, it was called the D League, and he was with the Utah Flash, and I was coaching the Bakersfield Jam. And back then there was only maybe 16 teams. So if you had, the teams in your conference, you played a lot. Um, so we got to know each other through that, and then he ended up working for one of my assistant coaches in Delaware. And then when he was promoted to head coach, he hired another one of my assistant coaches. Um, there's a lot of crossover. He worked for Brett Brown with the Sixers, and Brett's in San Antonio now. And yeah, there are a lot of things that kind of have connected us through the years. But when he got the position, he reached out and had a compelling sales pitch to me, and just seemed like a great opportunity to be a part of.
Which is pretty wild. I didn't think that BYU could pull G League head coaches to be assistants, but here we are. So, what was it about kind of getting back into the college game, which you'd been at Texas for a year, and kind of what's going on with Big 12 basketball? But it's been 23 years. You've been around the globe. So, what was the compelling sales pitch, I guess, from Kevin?
Well, I mean, obviously Kevin was going to have opportunities to be an NBA head coach, and decided that BYU was a better fit. And so, I think that speaks volumes. But to be a part of, something where you're in a lot of ways building it from the ground up. So I know last season was a great season from the team, but I think there's even more in terms of, being a consistent competitor in the Big 12 and transitioning to the best basketball conference in the nation and everything that entails. So, to be a part of that is something really exciting. Obviously, the college atmosphere is also great. You have an opportunity to I think shape the student athlete in different ways than you do with, even younger professionals that we had in the G League. So I think there's a lot of great things associated with the position. I'm excited to be here.
I flashed back when you mentioned that you were coaching against Kevin with Bakersfield in Utah. There was a little tussle with Musselman, I think, and Kevin. There was never a tussle with you, I assume.
No. Yeah, that it's funny too, because Jordan Brady was also a part of that little scuffle. So we're gonna have to bring that up actually now that you mention it.
That video makes me laugh, and it shows me the fire of Kevin Young, which, by the way, Eric Musselman was in this string of dominoes from coaching vacancies and whatnot. So I just had to chuckle about that
Yeah,
one, which is
that's
pretty
funny.
funny.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, you've invented a defense. It's called peel switch. When I watch it, it makes total sense. And I've read and seen where you talked about you had a player on your Angola national team was getting a little older, struggled on ball defense, and that his teammates were just kind of naturally doing this, and then you've kind of developed this into a philosophy. Tell us a little bit more about that and how you hope to implement that as the defensive coordinator at BYU.
Yeah, I mean, you've done your homework. That's where it originated. Like a lot of things in basketball, it's nobody has an original thought on their own, right? You see somebody else doing something, it makes your brain start to wonder. So it really stemmed from that. It was a work in progress, throughout my time with the national team, especially because, national team settings, you come together and then they go to their pro teams. And so it's not like you have a consistent time frame to really implement. So in the early days, it was a lot of trial and error. But I felt that it played to the strengths of that group. And as I did it more, I could sort of see the applications to really any group. So it's been fun, it's been fun to see how it's evolved and, to see, teams all the way up to the NBA adopting a lot of those principles. So, to just stumble across it, really kind of luckily in Angola, and see where it is now has been a pretty wild ride.
So you coach the Nigerian national team to the 2016 Olympics in Rio. You coach Angola to the FIBA World Cup. What was it like to coach national teams in Africa to some of the highest levels of basketball? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable experiences. So, I had done camps in Africa and I had some experience on the continent before, but the Nigerian national team really came out of nowhere. I had two national team players that had played for me in Bakersfield back in the D League days, and they had presented my candidacy to the federation. Um, but that's a program with three, current NBA head coach and two former NBA coaches that also coached there. So at the time, it was really something I never thought about, but unbelievable experience, great group of guys, and to be the only team in that country's proud history to ever win, an AfroBasket, an African championship, is something I'm very, very proud of. So, that led into the Angola opportunity. We beat Angola in 2015 to win that championship. So when my contract had run out, they had reached out immediately. But those atmospheres are so special and so unique. And really any of the national team stuff, when you're representing an entire country, it's just a whole nother level. So to have been a part of that on two occasions and taking those teams to, the highest of competition you could, is something that I'm really always going to be proud of.
And then you're in China, one of your stops, and one Jimmer Fredette is what he put up 70 in a game at one point. We love the Jimmer, of course. What was it
Yeah.
like to compete against him and try and scout against him defensively?
Well, funny enough, my first year in China, I suggested to our club that we look at Jimmer. Um, and they decided to do something else, which was fine. But so my second season was his first year in Shanghai. And obviously, yeah, I mean, that huge game he had, I believe was after I left. But he was already in his first season. You could see everything on display, and knew he's going to be able to score at a really high level, and had a lot of success over there. So it was fun to watch him do his thing there.
The Lonely Master, as they called him, which was fun. Okay, so how does the son of Vermont State poet and the son of a dad who started the New England Culinary Institute get into basketball? And he played soccer in college, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a great question. I was an athlete. I consider myself a soccer player, but really by the time I was a senior in high school, I probably was a better basketball player, but had already committed, to playing in college. And in some ways, I think that decision is what led me to become a basketball coach. So it was sort of
Hmm.
like I hadn't fulfilled everything within the game that I had set out to do. Um, and I was lucky enough to get an internship with the Clippers, right out of school, and it just kept leading to other things. So a lot of dumb luck, to be honest. But I didn't, when I went to college, I wasn't thinking, well, I'm gonna coach basketball one day or coach it, any sport one day. But I did. I really missed the game. I missed being a part of it. And at that stage felt like, well, okay, this is a way to do it. So started, coaching AAU, coaching kids in the park, just being around it as much as I could. And fast forward to now, here I am.
Okay, Mike Budenholzer one time said, Will's a little wacky, and his story has played out that way. And you talk about the G League, you talk about Norway, Germany, Egypt, China, Angola, Nigeria, the People's Republic of Austin, Texas. You've been a lot of places, man. What are some of the lessons you've learned that you think will help you be a great assistant here at BYU?
Well, I think it's the appreciation of where you are, and like everywhere has its own unique culture, its own unique style of play. And all of these stops has given me an understanding of that and an appreciation of that, and has helped me, I think, with my adaptability to that. So BYU is no different. I mean, it you might think that China is as crazy as it can get compared to somewhere else, but in some ways, BYU compared to the G League last year also has a lot of tremendous differences. So I really think it's that, like getting somewhere and learning about the people of that area, learning about the players in that level, learning about all those things, and then figuring out how to put it together in some ways is kind of what I do best. So, I think I'll be able to read the landscape here and hopefully help Coach Young and this program be successful.
What was your perception of kind of what BYU is and what you've kind of thought about the brand and the team and the school over historically?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's familiar with the brand, and a lot of my NBA friends, when I got the position, talked about how, last year in Kansas, there somehow were 4,000 screaming BYU fans. So, right, like you can get a hold of that ticket. I think that speaks volumes. Um, but I had one of my former assistants, Brian Dignan, had played here. I have friends who coach in the WCC who had talked about it. So I think the atmosphere is well known throughout all of basketball, whether you're in the pro game or college game. I have a tremendous amount of respect for that and the love of the game in this area and the fan support. And obviously, as we transition to the Big 12 and continue to hopefully be successful there. We're building on that tradition to reach even high, new heights.
This coaching staff is perhaps the most unique in any sport at BYU, given the professional and international experience. You bring in Brandon Dunson, a young up-and-comer from Stanford. Chris Burgess, we know from not coming to BYU as a player to coming to BYU as an assistant, and now he's back. Yourself, Tim Fanning, John Linehan announced the last couple of days. The emphasis seems to be very unique in terms of we're going to get great players from all over the globe, the best players obviously local that are connected to the church, but like the experience and kind of the LinkedIn and the passports that you guys have are unlike any staff I think on any team ever. What's your sense of the staff that Kevin's put together and what you guys hope to do in terms of raise the profile of the school, win in the NCAA tournament, and produce NBA guys?
Yeah, I mean, credit to Coach Young and putting together such a diverse group of guys. And I think we're still feeling that out a little bit right now. Everybody brings something unique to the table. Uh, I think my development background is probably something that Coach Young saw in me, but uh, I think it's exciting. I think the landscape of college basketball has changed in a way where you do need people that kind of can check different boxes. The way that you recruit, the way that you form rosters, the way that you develop them is all very different than it was 5 years ago. So I'm really excited to get to work with these guys and hopefully produce something great here.
My sense of the office space, by the way, is that the one, it looks like you're nearest to like the barbecue and the porch right there. Is that right? My sense is that that
Well,
was the
let's
best one. Yes. My sense is that that was like the best one. How'd you nab that one?
well, this was the one that was left. So I don't know if it was Coach Young with a pitchfork making sure that I got it, or if with this office comes the responsibility of grill master. Maybe
Maybe.
that's it. Yeah.
A couple of years ago, when the previous staff came in, they actually had a shootout among the assistants from 3 to get office spaces. So
Wow.
I think you got lucky.
I'm certainly happy. I mean, you cannot beat this view, and I feel fortunate. So yeah, burgers
That's
are on
awesome.
me. Come on over, Jarom.
Yeah,
I'm
let's go. Hot dogs, I love it. I'll bring a ribeye over. One for me and you. Let's go. Okay, the team has gathered, the many of the team, not every single player quite yet, but most of the team is practicing this week and getting some summer workouts in. What's it been like with this group as you not only are introducing yourselves and your schemes, but kind of forming the team that is the team you'll compete with this fall?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to get to know these guys, to be able to see them in person, see what they can do in person. Obviously, I've watched as much as I can on film of them, but it's always a different perspective once you get around them. So I think that's where we're at right now is sort of, getting a feel for them, their strengths, areas that they need some improvement, and then introducing just some basic concepts to them right now. But it's still very much a work in progress, and we're going to be careful not to skip any steps in that. So I think the summer is really going to be spent on getting to know each other more than anything else, which is fine. I don't think we're in a rush to implement whatever system that we ended up going with.
Then in terms of roster, you have 2 scholarships left. Is there a focus to perhaps try and get at least one power forward or a big among those 2 scholarships left?
Yeah, I mean, part of the challenge that we faced is that, this staff, all of us came together late, so in today's day of recruiting through the portal, um, we were behind, and everybody's worked very hard to try to work around that, and we've been able to, obviously, with some of the signings that we've made. But that's, I think, where our approach is right now is uh who are the best players still out there, and how do we make it fit rather than, okay, it's got to be just this type of guy. I think if we were here and together in beginning of March, now you can do it that way, right? Like, exactly what you need. You've already identified the guys who fit that, whereas I think for us it's, okay, is there still talent out there? Are we still able to be in the mix? And if we were to get this player, how do we make it all fit?
It's like the NFL draft, Kuiper's best available. It's like, hey, that guy, not exactly what we need, but he's awesome. Let's go get him.
Yeah,
Well, Will, I appreciate the time, man. Good to know you. Excited to have you at BYU, and I'll bring a couple ribeyes over soon enough.
that's right. Let's do this.